Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where the Thursday night numbers for Wonder Woman are in, and they are very promising indeed. The headline this morning reads, Wonder Woman Thursday night box office comes in at 11 million, but then they followed it with the top Thursday night debut ever for a film directed by a woman, beating out 50 Shades of Grey, the previous record holder, with an 8.6 million Thursday night. And I didn't like that headline because I didn't like Wonder Woman being associated with 50 Shades. I mean, Wonder Woman should be just a superhero movie. I mean, it is operating a little bit like a female-led flick. We're gonna bring Beauty and the Beast into this conversation momentarily. Wait for it. But 50 Shades, I think, has a negative connotation of a chick flick, even though it, the first one did make a lot of money. But I don't want Wonder Woman anywhere near there. Also, I think that qualifies. It puts like an asterisk next to Wonder Woman, right? It's like it's competing in its own special category. And it's like, no. The whole point about Wonder Woman, both as a movie and as a character, is that she's supposed to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with her male counterparts. So let's break down the box office numbers that way. But on a side note, 50 Shades did go on to do 85 million its opening weekend, so that's very promising. Now, the superhero picture that they compared it to in the trades was the first Guardians of the Galaxy because they're on par. That opened with 11.2 million in its Thursday night box office previews and went on to do 94 opening weekend. So that's very, very good. But come on, they should have told, I think it was, a little bit too like, here you go, Warner Brothers, well, you're welcome, that they didn't compare it to Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad's Thursday night numbers. Now, don't get too scared, but this is just how the conversation has to go, all right? So, Batman v Superman opened with 27.7 million in its Thursday night previews and went on to do 166 in its opening weekend. And then Suicide Squad opened with 20.5 million in its opening its Thursday night previews and went on to do 133. So at first you'd be like, does that, still, even with those numbers, you're like probably looking at about 100 million opening for Wonder Woman. But it's important to understand the different demographics of these films. DCEU versus Wonder Woman, which might be opening up to a bigger audience. And I would say is less 50 Shades, perhaps more Beauty and the Beast. Now, Beauty and the Beast, their Thursday night box office was 16.3. And it went on to do 174, right? So so you can see 16.3 is far less than how BVS and Suicide Squad opened on Thursday night, but Beauty and the Beast beat them out when it came to the whole weekend. So I think that's what this says. And interestingly enough, the split for the audience on the Thursday night previews for Wonder Woman was 50-50, 50% male, 50% female. And it's unusual for women to come out, I think, as you can see from Beauty and the Beast, to a Thursday night preview. They apparently, female audiences, it looks like, go throughout the weekend. They're like, I'll go to a matinee or I'll see it over the weekend. I don't need to see the first showing. So that's interesting to see how Wonder Woman not only is differing from the other DCEU films, but how maybe women are a little bit different at the box office. So it's like, I don't want Wonder Woman to have to be asterisked, in terms of who sees it, but it's part of the reality. But, let's go more Beauty and the Beast than 50 Shades, right? And also, let's not break it down for, it is it's tough. It's a really tough conversation because it is an important win for female directors. But, Sam Taylor Johnson, where is Sam Taylor Johnson who directed 50 Shades? She's like, I don't want to do the sequels. I hate E.L. James. But you know what? Surprise twist, I'm not going to do anything. And it's like Catherine Bigelow. Women make really big strides. And also, I'd say to some degree, Ava DuVernay until she got this Wrinkle in Time movie. It's like you make these big splashes and then you don't do anything. You don't check, you don't cash in your capital. So I hope that Patty Jenkins breaks that trend and makes a really kick-ass deal off of her box office numbers for opening weekend. We'll see what happens. So also, though, they polled everybody on Thursday night and they said 24% plan to see the movie again. That's excellent. I don't know what the number usually is for that. That's an unusual statistic. They don't usually report on that, but at least in this case, it's promising. So I would say at this point, very conservatively, I think you're looking at a $90 to $100 million opening. But I think there's a very good chance, if I want to get optimistic about it, that it could do over 100. Maybe not far over 100, but it could maybe do maybe 110, 120. Wouldn't that be amazing? Or wonderful? So that's really how you break down the Thursday night numbers. And I think it's interesting to see how she compares to the male-led flicks and also how women, female audiences, and maybe this is going to perform like a family picture. That would be wonderful, and how that differs a little bit too. That would be nice to see as well. All right, so the DCEU is feeling good right now, and they're being very aggressive. They're probably going to cash in their capital. They're like, hey, look, the DCEU is a happening place now, and Josh Gad is one of the first places they're spending that capital, and he's also being very aggressive on social media, by the way. Many of you picked up on his tweet last night where he put a picture of himself with Jeff Johns and John Berg, who head up the DCEU film division now, at their headquarters, the same place where The Rock took his photo. Although I liked that Josh Gad pulled back and let us see a little bit more of the room. And he, of course, was holding up a Penguin comic, which echoes his earlier tweet where he just tweeted out the Penguin. I think that Josh Gad is in talks on this, and he was like, I think he put the photo out there to be like, would my fans be okay with this? Or do they think it, and also would DCEU fans be okay with this? Or would people think it was horrible? And since I think the reaction, I don't think anybody like got too excited about it, but I don't think anybody got too upset about it either. So he's like, I think I might do it. So this is my take. A number of you are like, where is he going to show up? I think he's going to be in Gotham City Sirens, as I said before. But I don't think that he's going to be a really strong villain. My guess, because Josh Gad is so lovable, so he's going to want to maybe do a little bit of a tweak on that, but he's not going to want to go full villain because I think that would hurt his audience overall. And also, if Josh Gad's in the movie, you know, I think the DCEU is moving a little bit closer to family entertainment, and nothing says family entertainment like Josh Gad, apparently. So my guess would be that he hires the Gotham City Sirens to do a job for him from the Iceberg Lounge, and they would probably go with that version of the Penguin, where he's more, you know, Iceberg Lounge Club owner / informant, you know, kingpin of, you know, like that, you know, that kind of a character. A little bit, you know, he's very villainous on Gotham, actually, come to think of it. And that would be interesting, that Josh Gad would have to compete with that version of the character who's proven to be very popular. I would be interested to see, you know, I mean, everybody also sometimes thinks of the Danny DeVito character, but I think Gotham's done a really good job redefining the Penguin, to the point where I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that change in the comics, reflected in the comics. But that's my guess as to how they'll utilize him. We'll talk more about it once it's made official, and it'll get its own video. Then for the third story of the day, I wanted to talk about Sense8 being canceled, because so many of you are so upset about it. So many of you who watch the show, and just people on the internet in general. It's the top story on The Hollywood Reporter right now, and I think this was the first big misstep for Netflix. Netflix, they canceled Sense8 after 2 seasons, but people knew from casting breakdowns that there was supposed to, or it was proposed to run for 5 seasons. So people are like, you cheated me out of 3 seasons, Netflix, what the hell? And this is very unfortunately coming on the heels of their cancellation of The Get Down. And these are 2 shows that were really big on representation for, you know, communities that need representation, right? So I think that Netflix made a mistake here in a couple of ways. You know, and I also think it's a problem for Netflix, and if they want to aggressively go after these audiences, they can't then shortchange them and just abandon them when they feel they want to, right? I mean, there you have some kind of you kind of owe it to these audiences to offer them complete representation. You know, maybe at least one more season, and be like, this is the final season, so you know they have time to say goodbye. But one big problem is also that they don't release ratings at Netflix. And so these cancellations seem all the more arbitrary. It's hard to argue with numbers. When you cancel a show because you're like, look, no one watches it, then I think the audience has to, you know, the fan base has to go, that sucks, but I understand that you're a company and, you know, darn it, why didn't more people watch? Here, it just seems like an arbitrary decision by Netflix, or maybe Netflix doesn't want to represent that community anymore. It's just bad. Also, I think Reed Hastings didn't help, the CEO of Netflix, when he recently was having a discussion in the industry, a public discussion, and he said that he feels this content team needs to take more risks and they should be canceling more shows. And I think that's a really bad idea. First of all, you don't throw more darts, you get better aim, right? I mean, what's he saying to his development team? He's like, you guys don't know what you're doing, but we have so much money, just churn stuff out and we'll see what sticks to the wall. And you're like, that's a really bad, unprofessional formula. Also, I think they're going to turn off their audience, because the audience is going to start to be like, well, I don't want to start watching this show until I know it's going to get a 2nd season, right? I mean, now you'll like try stuff because you feel Netflix is invested, literally. But now that they can just pull the cord at any time and are eager to, you're going to be like, I'll wait and see if it sticks around before I really get into this. So I'm curious to what you think. How do you feel Netflix is handling its original shows? I think that they make a lot. I think they should make less shows that they don't give any support to. I think that some shows they're very supportive of, but some shows will premiere. And like I'll go through Netflix sometimes and I'll be like, I had no idea you were even making this show or that it even started new episodes. Like, what? So I think they should maybe, instead of throwing more money into their development department, maybe they should have more of an advertising department. All right, so those are the 3 stories of the day, and I have a great viewer question from Blake Revelo. So yesterday I talked about the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, and I asked if anybody had ridden it, and Blake did. So he has a review, and also he has a question. So Blake says, "Hey Grace, I rode Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout yesterday. It was one of the best rides I have ever been on, and it completely exceeded my expectations. Darn it, I can't wait to ride this ride. I already asked you this on Movie Math. He wrote this on 2 videos, but just to make sure I have a better chance of getting it answered, your plan worked, Blake. I am asking everywhere. My question is, why has it taken so long for a Marvel ride to come to a Disney theme park? It has been almost 10 years since Iron Man came out, so why has Disney taken so long to bring these Marvel franchises to the park? Thank you so much, and a huge fan. You inspired me to work hard to get into film school." Oh, that's wonderful, Blake. Good luck. Break a leg, you know. I think that's really fantastic. And I think you're starting from a good place with a natural love of film. All right, so I'm so jealous that you rode. Oh, Blake, if you know, when you watch this episode, down below in the comments, what song did they play? Because it's 6 different scenarios, so I'm curious which one you got. And also, how long was the line? How long did you have to wait? I want to know. All right, so to answer your question, Disney has a real problem in that before they acquired Marvel, Universal Orlando, Islands of Adventure made a deal with Marvel for a Marvel-themed land. One of their Islands of Adventure is Marvel-based, and they have a cool Spider-Man ride and a Hulk coaster and a Doctor Doom's free fall and some kind of storm ride that I've never gone on. I don't think anybody really goes on that. And like you can eat in Captain America's cafeteria. It's okay. It's not as good as what Disney could do or what Universal has done since with like their Harry Potter experience, and even the Jurassic Park section is, I think, better done. And Dr. Seuss Land. It's all better done. But anyway, part of the contract that they have is that nobody else in the Orlando area can do anything with Marvel. So that is, Disney World is Disney's most popular theme park destination. So I think up until now, they've been reluctant to spend money to develop a ride that they can't put in their most popular theme park. Those 4 lands. So I think that's been the real issue. Like, for instance, Star Wars Land is going to debut on both coasts, both Disneyland and Disney World, because there's going to be that much demand. They're like, that will get everybody on the globe covered, right? Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. But anyway, I think that, and also they did build the Iron Man experience in Hong Kong, to be fair. But now, Guardians of the Galaxy is so successful right out of the gate, I think that Disney's going to be like, damn! We should have gotten on this earlier. So if I were Disney, and they certainly have the money, I would reach out to Universal and I'd be like, look, you need that that space land. I've made it into one word, spanned. You need that space to build something else. Go build something else. Go, make a deal, make one of your own movies, build some DC Comics stuff maybe, because you already have a deal with Warner Brothers for the Harry Potter stuff. Give yourself a DC land, right? I would just be like, what's it going to take? If I were Bob Iger, for as long as he is still the head of the Disney company, since he's considering running for president, that would be so crazy. I would just take up my checkbook and be like, what's it going to take, Universal? And I'm sure they would charge me more than it was worth. But I think in the long run, the rate of return will be so high for Disney and with bringing people to their parks that they should just pay it. There's no way it's going to be like $1 billion, and they paid $4 billion for each of their acquisitions over the past few years. So I'm sure maybe like even $500 million. I would consider paying that, because I think that the theme park business is such a big part of the Disney pie, and I think that this would bring just so many people to their parks. And I don't think it's doing anything for Universal. I don't think anybody goes to Islands of Adventure with like, I gotta go to, Marvel Land. I think, people are like, yeah, let's stop over there. I do like Marvel. And they have a comic book store, by the way, that has very few comics in it, and they're not particularly current. Last time I was there, and I was pretty bummed. I was like, this is a horrible representation of what it's like to buy comics. Although I've gone digital, as many of you know. All right, so anyway, that's today's morning movie news. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Blake, for a wonderful viewer question and insider information on your ride experience. Please write down below, you think of today's top 3 stories, Blake's viewer question, anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow, on Monday, and any questions, of course, that you might have. Thanks for watching.